of Northern Ireland and especially Western Scotland, and here it will be turning quite breezy with some outbreaks of rain arriving. And through the course of Monday, we are going to see the winds continue to strengthen across the northwest of Scotland, so here turning quite windy and wet as well. So some fairly persistent rain for the Western Isles, moving into the Highlands as well. Perhaps a little bit of patchy rain for Northern Ireland as well, but many parts of the UK having a fine day. Once that fog has lifted, there'll be a mixture of cloud and sunny spells and feeling fairly pleasantly warm in any sunshine through the afternoon in the south. Temperatures around average for the time of year. As we go into tomorrow evening, the rain across the north and the northwest tends to peter out for a time, but it will be damp at times across the very far northwest of Scotland, and here it will stay quite breezy too. The week ahead is certainly a northwest-southeast split. Most of the rain across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, quite mild for the time of year and largely dry.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
and you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB newsroom. Sir Keir Starmer says Reform UK's policy of scrapping indefinite leave to remain is racist and immoral. The Prime Minister has been speaking as Labour's annual party conference gets underway in Liverpool. Nigel Farage's party has pledged to remove settled status for non-EU migrants and deport thousands of people already legally living in the UK. The Prime Minister is hoping Labour's annual conference will revive public and party support in the face of plummeting poll ratings and threats to his leadership. Well, also at conference today, a series of protests has taken place against a range of government policies. Merseyside police say they are currently making arrests on suspicion of wearing or carrying an article supporting a proscribed organisation at a protest in support of Palestine Action happening in Liverpool. Other demonstrations have taken place today against Labour's proposals for digital ID. It comes as a petition against the measure has so far received more than 2 million signatures. A brief bit of breaking news from the US. Multiple people have been injured this afternoon after a shooting and fire at a church in eastern Michigan. The incident occurred at a Mormon church northwest of Detroit. Multiple victims have been reported and police say the shooter has been killed. Reportedly, the church is actively on fire. Authorities say there is no threat to the public at this time. We'll bring you more on that story and that press conference as we get it. Elsewhere, the Housing Secretary has announced plans to build 12 new towns in England, with construction on 3 of those to begin before the next election. Steve Reed, who's been signing Build Baby Build hats at conference today, says it could lead to 300,000 new homes across England. Construction of 3 of those towns in Bedfordshire, Yorkshire and Greater London is due to begin before the next election. Labour is promising to build 1.5 million new homes by 2029. Jaguar Land Rover has been rescued with a £1.5 billion government loan after a cyber attack earlier this month. The British car maker has been forced to suspend production for several weeks after being targeted by hackers. The shutdown is expected to last until at least the 1st of October. The cash injection will allow JLR to support businesses in its supply chain after firms warned of mass layoffs and collapse. The loan will be paid back over 5 years. And US President Donald Trump says there's a real chance for greatness in the Middle East after saying he was close to forging a deal to end the war in Gaza. Also today, Hamas's armed wing said that it lost contact with 2 hostages during Israeli military operations in 2 Gaza City neighbourhoods. President Trump is set to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu shortly with the aim of reaching a framework for that deal. That's according to administration officials. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for the Camilla Tominey Show, recorded earlier today at Labour Party conference.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good morning and welcome to the Camilla Tominey Show live in Liverpool at the Labour Party conference. Housing Secretary Steve Reed will join me on the programme as more than 2 million people sign a petition against digital ID. Could this be the government's biggest misstep yet? And let's be honest, there's been quite a few over the last 14 months. I'm also going to be speaking to his counterpart, Shadow Housing Secretary Sir James Cleverly. How does he respond to the mega poll out this week which shows that the Tory party could be reduced to almost nothing, the likes of which have not been seen since the 17th century? Polling at the moment is just crazy. For reform, former Tory party chairman and defector Sir Jake Berry will be here. Does he have any evidence to back up his leader's claim that migrants are eating not cats and dogs, but swans? We'll drill into the detail of that. And we're also going to be speaking to the Labour MP for Kettering, Rosie Wrighting, who's going to join me with GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope, as we prepare for a busy next few days here in Liverpool. Just how crucial will Starmer's speech be on Tuesday? As ever, an absolutely packed show is lined up for you, so do not even think of going anywhere. Housing Secretary Steve Reed joins me now. Lovely to see you, Mr. Reed. Thank you for being here. This isn't the best start to Labour conference, is it? We've got polling suggesting that Keir Starmer is now the least popular PM in history. His approval rating, God forbid, is below Boris Johnson after Partygate, Liz Truss after the mini-budget. It's even lower than John Major at his lowest ebb.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised at any of that, I don't think.
Why?
When we know that trust in politics and politicians is so broken because actually of the broken promises of Boris Johnson and his friends.
Hang on
we
a
had
minute.
austerity, we had Brexit
It's
didn't deliver
Boris
what it was supposed
Johnson's
to do.
fault that Keir
We had
Starmer
Liz
is
Truss's budget.
unpopular.
Well, they've shattered trust in politics, and I'm afraid it's shattered, and people are not going to give their trust back until they see change that they can feel in their lives. So what we've started to do as a government is start to turn around the issues people voted for change on. So with 10 months with this government, wages have gone up faster than in 10 years under the previous government. Now, one of the things that people are really worried about is the cost of living.
Yes.
So the fact they're now seeing wages rise faster than prices for the first time is a real benefit, but it takes time for that to feed through.
We're not going to have party political broadcasts on the show. Let's just be realistic about this.
That's just what we're doing as a government
I
for
know,
people.
I get that. But let's be honest, Keir Starmer is far less popular now than he was when he was elected PM. The reason for that is he keeps on doing U-turns, flip-flopping, aides are leaving Downing Street in droves. Angela Rayner's had to resign, Peter Mandelson's had to be sacked. He's coming out with wildly unpopular policies that he then has to reverse when the left says, by the way, this wasn't why you were elected. We've now got the digital ID card scheme. 2 million people have already signed a petition. So the least popular PM in history has now come up with one of the least popular policies in history. He's doing a terribly bad job.
I know
that's
that's
why
the
he's
GBNews
unpopular.
narrative, but it isn't
no,
actually
that's the
true.
country's narrative.
There's more money in people's pockets after 10 months of this government than after 10 years in the previous government.
Really?
People wanted to cut the record-breaking NHS waiting lists. We've got 5 million more appointments. We promised to do 2 million. We've done 5 million. That's cutting those waiting lists. 35,000 people who had no right to be in the country have been removed. That's the most for a decade. I'm going to be on the stage shortly announcing a record-breaking new generation of new towns so we can build the homes people want to live in when the previous government stopped building. Now, I recognise that trust in politics is broken, but we are delivering the change people want to see. I know it takes time for that to feed through, but what you don't do is stop-start, have the revolving door we saw under the Tories.
Well, this
we'll
has
stay
been
the
a
course
revolving door.
and we'll make the change
A revolving door. Let's list the people who have left so far. Sue Gray, Louise Haigh, Tulip Sadiq, Andrew Gwynn, Matthew Doyle, Rushanara Ali, Nin Pandit, James Lyon,
None of that.
Angela Rayner,
None of that
Claire
has
Reynolds,
stopped us
Lord
from pursuing
Mandelson,
the
Paul
change that we're going to
Ovenden,
deliver.
Steph Driver, the brilliant Steph Driver, who was Director of Communications. Even she can't bear to be inside Number 10 anymore. What do you do? This is the ultimate revolving door.
No, it
the
isn't.
door hasn't stopped spinning for the people leaving Number
Absolutely
10.
not. Do you know, I think we had 1 year, we had 3 prime ministers under the Conservatives in just 1 year. Grant Shapps had 3 different cabinet roles in just 1 year. We're going to stay the course with this prime minister, and we're going to keep doing what we need to do to put money in people's pockets. So the announcements I'm making today around housing, it's really important. We have a housing crisis in this country because the previous government wouldn't build the homes people want to live in. And so we've got young people, some of them might be watching this show today, who simply cannot get that first foot on the housing ladder, and they deserve the chance you and I had when we were younger. So we're going to give them we're going to build the home so they can share in the dream of home ownership that so many of us that are older enjoy.
How many homes have you built so far under Labour?
Well, do you know how long it takes for a planning application to go through?
Just how many?
Do you know how long it takes?
Just give me the figure.
Well, we're currently dealing with
the figure.
We're currently dealing with the tail end of what the Conservatives were doing because it takes more than 18 months from an application to the home being built.
Please answer the question.
No, but I'm not going to take the blame for what the Tories did.
No,
I'm going to take the blame for what Labour does if it goes wrong subsequently.
Can you
we're
take
changing the rules
responsibility
to speed up planning so that the problem we're seeing now doesn't happen again in future.
How many houses have been built under Labour so far?
Starts have gone up by 29%. What I can't do...
Can you give me a figure?
I know it's really low, and I'm appalled by it as well, but that
figure?
is because the Conservatives didn't get the applications through.
Please don't tell me you don't know the number as
Conservatives didn't get the
housing
applications
secretary.
through.
Do you
29% up starts.
No. How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact... I'm not Wikipedia.
You don't have...
No, I'm not Wikipedia.
No,
I'm here to talk to you about policy. That doesn't mean I know every single statistic going on in the entire housing sector.
You don't know how
you
many
only know it
homes.
because it's written in front of you.
Well, but I'm not
Tell
in
me what it
charge
is, and we
of
can have
housing.
How
can my producer have this figure and you not have it?
Well, because somebody's researched it for you and given it to you, and someone hasn't researched it for me and given it to me. What I know I need to do is build new homes.
You're the housing
so we're
secretary
announcing
and you
today,
don't know how many houses have been
plans to
completed
build
under Labour.
a new generation of
Genuinely.
new towns for the first time since the Second World War. That will be more than 300,000 new homes, giving young people the chance to get their foot on the housing ladder, giving people that are stuck in squalid, substandard, expensive rental accommodation the chance to get somebody that they can afford to rent.
Forgive me.
It's putting the key to a decent home in the hands of the British people.
Steve Reed.
Because you've got a stat on a bit of paper that I haven't got, says nothing whatsoever.
I'm surprised.
Other than you're trying to do a gotcha moment.
I'm not
and that's
trying
so sad for your viewers because they'd probably like a sensible debate.
This is silly.
Yes, it is.
It's not a gotcha.
Camilla, it's very silly.
It's not a gotcha for me to ask you as Housing Secretary how many new homes have been completed since Labour took power. That is like the most basic
stat. I know it's unacceptable. I know it's unacceptable because we're dealing with the tail end of the Tory failure to get applications in. They scrapped housing targets. We're putting them back in. We've got a law going through Parliament now that will get royal assent in November that will speed up the planning process so that when we get an application, quicker to get a consent, quicker to get spades in the ground, quicker to get that home built, somebody can buy it, somebody can rent it. We will end the housing crisis that we saw under the Conservatives.
I'll tell you how many have been built so far. It's 117,390.
And it's too low.
It's far too low because at that rate it's going to take 13 years to reach your 1.5 million housing target by the end of Parliament.
But I fear, Camilla, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Because what I'm saying is I've just asked you for a really basic figure and you're saying it's a gotcha and
when I'm trying to explain what we're doing. So we're changing the planning laws. It's going to get royal assent in November. It will speed up the planning process, and then we're working with the developers to make sure that they're training up enough people in construction, in engineering, in quantity surveying, so that we can build 1.5 million homes over the course of this Parliament. It won't be built at the same rate in year 5 as in year 1 because the changes that we're making now will make it go faster as we work through the Parliament. So we will get those homes built. The level right now is unacceptable, but it's at that level because the previous government didn't do, when they were in power, what I'm doing today to speed it up.
Well, the last year that they were in power, they did get up to 200,000 plus homes in the final year. But my question is this: how can you say that you'll definitely meet that 1.5 million housing target when so far you're nowhere near it? In London,
well, I just explained that. We're changing the rules to make it happen faster.
So you're guaranteeing that? You're guaranteeing 1.5 million?
My job depends on it.
Your job depends on it.
You can call me back here at the end, when we've gone through this Parliament, you can call me back here and I will be held to account. But what I have committed to do is 1.5 million homes. I've met the developers in my first week. They told me a whole load of areas where they want work speeded up. I'm going to announce an acceleration package in 2 or 3 weeks' time based on what the developers have told me they want, so that we can do everything we need to do to get those homes built faster.
Do you appreciate my point? I know you've said it's a gotcha, but will people have... It's not a gotcha. Why would people have confidence that you'll meet the target if you didn't have an answer to the question? How many homes have you built so far?
You've got a researcher who gave you that stat. I am changing the way that the planning rules work. I'm taking down the barriers that get in the way. We've got a law going through Parliament now that will speed up planning, precisely so we can get more homes built for the young people that need somewhere affordable to rent or to buy, and to get families out of overcrowded accommodation. Homelessness went up 50% under the last government. People living in temporary accommodation up 50% after the last government. Affordable and social house building down 75% under the last government, and rents went up 50% under the last government. That's all because they refused to build. I won't refuse to build. In fact, my slogan is build, baby, build, and we're going to get those homes built because people's lives and livelihoods and life chances depend on it.
Okay, so it's borrowed from the Donald Trump school. He says, drill, baby, drill. You want to say build...
Build, baby, build.
Do you like Donald Trump? Because Sadiq Khan thinks that he's a racist and an Islamophobe, and yet your leader has just rolled out the red carpet for him.
Well, here's the President of the United States, and the United States are our closest ally, so it's quite right.
So is Trump a racist and an Islamophobe, or someone that should be welcome to the country?
He does sometimes say slightly strange things. He said London was going to adopt Sharia law. That absolutely isn't the truth. I'm proud to be a Londoner. I represent a London constituency. Nobody is looking at bringing in Sharia law, so Donald Trump was wrong on that. But the US is our strongest trading partner. We secured a trade deal with the US recently. It was the best trade deal that any country in the world has secured, and it protected tens of thousands of car workers' jobs in this country, and it means we can export more British goods to the US than before.
I'm getting a countdown in my ear, Steve Reed. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. So that's Steve Reed. Coming up, we're going to be speaking to his counterpart in the Tories, Sir James Cleverly. We'll be back in just a jiffy.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining me now is Shadow Housing Secretary Sir James Cleverly. Hopefully you can hear me, Sir James Cleverly, as I'm in Liverpool and you're in London. Lovely to see you this morning.
And you.
We've had a couple of mega polls out this week.
Nearly good enough.
This is problematic for Kemi Badenoch, isn't it? How can she turn things around for your party?
Well, the thing about those opinion polls is that they are at best a snapshot, they are not a prediction, and there is a long time between now and the next general election. We've already seen with Labour that their popularity has absolutely crashed, and they have done that in just 15 months. Reform are obviously very pleased about these opinion polls, but really what we're seeing is whenever they put forward any proposals, those proposals fall apart, often within hours of being made. What Kemi is doing, what the Conservative Party is doing, is making sure we've actually got a credible plan to recover the economy from the disastrous high tax situation that we will inevitably inherit from Labour. We've just heard earlier today Keir Starmer refuse to rule out increasing VAT. We know that Rachel Reeves is going to have to put up taxes in the autumn budget, and what we're seeing from Reform is that they want to increase the welfare budget, and that means inevitably increasing taxes. So we are doing the professional hard work. We'll let the flimsy headline-grabbing announcements, we'll leave that to Labour and Reform, and the hijinks to the Lib Dems. We're the only party that's got a credible plan for actually reducing taxation and getting the country back in the right direction.
It's not flimsy, is it, when you've got 113 polls putting Reform ahead, and all polls suggesting that the longer Kemi Badenoch leads the party, the less popular she and it becomes. Would you have been a better leader?
Well, I ran for leadership. I didn't get it. I'm completely comfortable with that. What I've also said is one of the things that damaged us as a party was this constantly cycling through leaders. What we need to do is highlight, and we are doing this, highlighting the disastrous job that Labour are doing in government. Increasingly now that Reform are running things in local government, we're starting to see the absolute disaster that they are when they're in charge of anything. Of course, we have got to rebuild our reputation. That will not happen overnight, but we don't rebuild reputations by making increasingly undeliverable promises, like we've just heard from Steve Reed, who's claiming he's going to build houses despite the fact that he personally opposed house building in his own constituency. We're not going to rebuild credibility the way Reform are doing it, which is making announcements that don't even last 24 hours before they fall apart. We are doing the professional hard work that is what you have to do to regain credibility.
Can I just say that what lacks credibility is Boris Johnson having last week announced that he was very proud of what he did with immigration while he was Prime Minister. So between January 2021 and June 2024, 4.3 million migrants came into the UK, including 3.8 million with long-term visas. He thinks that he's very proud of this Boris wave. Are you proud of it?
Well, Boris is the person who is best to speak about the decisions that Boris made. When I was Home Secretary, I recognised that the visa regime that we had put in place as a government, my predecessors put in place, in order to address the number of people who had left the country during the COVID era, was far too generous, and I set about changing that visa regime. Opposed, I would say, by the Labour Party at the time. Because of the decisions that I made as Home Secretary, net migration was halved, and had we stayed in government, that number would have continued to come down, and come down significantly. Labour have failed to implement most of the proposals that I put forward. They scrapped the border control measures that I was putting in place. They scrapped the Rwanda scheme, and we're now seeing small boat arrivals go through the roof. So Boris is best placed to speak about the decisions Boris made. I made decisions as Home Secretary which brought net migration down by half.
But when you were Home Secretary in the 12 months leading to June 2024, net migration was 738,718. That's the second largest number or jump since 1948.
And Camilla, whilst I was Home Secretary, so the immigration that happened whilst I was Home Secretary was because of the decisions that I inherited from predecessors. When I was Home Secretary, I changed the visa regime, and the result of the changes the result of the changes that I made was a halving of net migration. So I'm very proud of the record that I had as Home Secretary. And the simple fact of the matter is, Labour are now trying to wrap themselves up in the flag because they've realised their open border attitude. Remember, Keir Starmer saying all immigration law was inherently racist, realising how unpopular that is, they're trying to wrap themselves up in the flag. Reform's deportation plans falling apart within 24 hours of its announcement. The Conservative Party actually doing the hard work, thinking through how we actually make these changes, whether it be judicial reform, whether it be changes to the international treaties that we signed up to. We are doing the serious work, and we'll let other parties do the, as I say, we'll do the headline grabbing stuff, which they know will not work.
OK, but let's talk about those international treaties. Can you clarify where you now stand on the ECHR? Because previously you've been hesitant
I stand where I've always
to leave
stood.
the
No,
ECHR.
where I've always stood.
It's Kemi Baden. Well, what's the answer? What's the answer there?
My position has always been the same, and if you guys can't report it, that's your fault, not mine. My position has always been that leaving the ECHR is not a silver bullet solution. That is what I've always said. That is what those are the exact words that Kemi has also said. That's what Lord Wolfson has said, and he is putting forward an analysis of what we would need to do in totality to be able to deport the people that we need to be able to deport, to protect the things that we want to protect, and he has not issued his report as yet, but Kemi made it really clear that just saying something like, oh, we're going to leave the ECHR, may well not be enough to actually achieve what we need to achieve. And we need to think about it in a more holistic way. That's what Lord Wolfson's report will be about. That is exactly the position that I've always taken. And that is different to the Labour position, which is nothing to see here, everything's fine, and leave well alone. And the Reform position, which is make a throwaway statement and pretend that that is enough, and it absolutely isn't.
All right, so we avoid any further misreporting of what you've said. Can you clarify whether you did say in private, when you were Home Secretary, that you thought the Rwanda plan was, quotes, bat, S-H-I-T, crazy?
No, I didn't. What I said was that our almost exclusive focus on that was bat crazy. What I said, and I said this when I was Home Secretary, we had a range of activities to including the Small Boats Operational Command, including returns agreements with Albania, including tightening up the enforcement of illegal working, and the Rwanda plan. The point I made is only talking about the Rwanda plan meant that we weren't talking about the range of other things that we're doing, and that was what was crazy. That was what I was frustrated about. And when I became Home Secretary, I made sure that as well as actually moving forward with Rwanda, we also spoke about the other range of things. And actually, the person that I had that conversation with, funnily enough, was Yvette Cooper. And her betraying and misreporting a private conversation, I think, was rather unprofessional.
OK, but isn't there a contradiction at the heart of your argument? Your argument is as follows. Labour are terrible. They've been terrible in the office from the very beginning, and they just get worse. Reform are making up policies as they go along. They can't be trusted. None of their claims are credible. And yet still the Tories are tanking. So even though Labour are terrible and Reform can't be trusted, you're still tanking in the polls. Why is that?
Well, people will increasingly see. So Labour are, I think, their position is irrecoverable. It will still take us time to rebuild the trust of the electorate. And in the meantime, Reform are making completely uncredible promises. Now, those statements from Reform are superficially
but why are you
attractive.
tanking?
But ultimately, as we have seen, when and wherever they are actually in positions of leadership, their delivery completely fails. And voters will increasingly see that. Now, it is going to take time for us to recover our credibility. I'm explaining, Camilla. It will take time for us to recover our relationship with voters. But what we're not going to do is be blown off course just because one person, and it is a one-man band. Nigel Farage is an incredibly effective political communicator, but if you look at anyone and everyone behind him,
he's got some Tories with him now, hasn't he?
Up to the job. Well, I think.
What, Danny Kruger?
The recruiting of Danny. I think the recruiting of Danny is part of his succession planning. He clearly doesn't trust the other people within his party, so he's getting somebody in to kind of carry the flame forward. But I don't think it will work. I don't think that people will be tricked by reform for very much longer, because whenever and wherever they are in charge of anything, they fail the people that elected them. People will see that, and in the meantime, we will continue building our credible arguments to get things done, to reduce tax, to secure our borders, to protect our country, to build the homes that we need. Unlike Labour, unlike Reform, which are frankly two sides of the same coin in their lack of credibility.
OK, thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning, Sir James Cleverly. Up next, I'm going to be speaking to the former Tory party chairman. He was once James Cleverly's mate. Now he's cozying up with Reform and Nigel Farage, Sir Jake Berry. This is the Camilla Tominey Show, only on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some rain in the far northwest of Scotland on Monday, but for most, once any fog clears, Monday is promising to be a fairly fine day with some sunny spells, and that's courtesy of this area of high pressure extending from the southwest. But notice the isobars in the far northwest, those tighten together, so it will be turning windier and there will be some rain in the far northwest of Scotland. But back to Sunday evening, many areas are ending the day on a dry note, and skies will continue to clear as we go through this evening and overnight. So temperatures really falling away, and it is going to turn into a rather cold night, particularly in the countryside. So temperatures here into mid-single figures, if not low single figures. A touch of frost in many areas, perhaps even a touch of air frost across parts of Scotland. But there'll also be some fog patches, and for some of us, those fog patches are going to be quite dense and quite stubborn to clear on Monday morning, most likely across eastern parts of England and across the southeast too. So do leave yourself some extra time for your morning commute if you do live in these regions. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine through the course of Monday. Even across eastern Scotland, a bright start to the day here. Any early morning fog very quickly clearing. Out towards the west, though, here's that band of cloud and rain already arriving across the Western Isles of Scotland. And those winds will continue to strengthen through the course of the day on Monday as well. So turning rather windy in the far northwest of Scotland, gusts of up to 40 miles per hour or so. A bit of patchy rain across Northern Ireland first thing, but tending to brighten up here as well as we go through the course of the day. And a fine afternoon for many of us. A bit of patchy rain in parts of central Scotland, but England and Wales staying largely dry, with sunny spells and temperatures around average for the time of year, highs of 17 to 19 in the south. Tuesday may again see the odd fog patch or two first thing in the south and the east, but overall a fine day once again for most of England and Wales. Cloudy for Scotland and Northern Ireland, patchy outbreaks of rain gradually pushing their way west to east and turning quite breezy at times once again. The outlook is for it to stay mostly dry across England and Wales for the rest of this week, but some rain at times in the north and west and temperatures close to average.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Joining me now is former Tory party chairman and now Reform defector, Sir Jake Berry. Lovely to see you this morning, Sir Jake. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has told the BBC, hasn't done an interview with me this morning, can't think why. Maybe he doesn't like a few tough questions. But he suggested that your indefinite leave to remain plan is both immoral and racist. What's your reaction to that?
Well, look, isn't that just absolutely typical? So, I mean, also today, Shabana Mahmood is coming out and saying something needs to happen about indefinite leave to remain. Look, what we saw in the last Parliament is 3.2 million people come to the UK who will automatically get the right to stay here for the rest of their life, claim benefits, use the NHS, get a pension, unless we act. Nigel Farage quite correctly came out this week and said we must act to stop this. It's going to cost billions of pounds to the UK economy. And what I'd say to your viewers listening at home is, why should someone who comes here temporarily to work automatically receive the right to live here for the rest of their life and claim benefits? I don't think that is either racist or controversial. It's frankly just common sense, Camilla.
So, Jake Berry, haven't you got some brass neck here? You supported vocally, privately, publicly, professionally Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister that said last week that he was very proud of his Boris wave, this idea of more than 4 million migrants coming into the country in the run-up to 2024, the summer of 2024. Now you're saying that was all a mistake. You supported it.
Well, let me stop you there, Camilla, because that's actually not correct. So if you look at my voting record in Parliament, I was one of the few MPs who repeatedly voted against my own party in many cases to toughen up our stance on immigration. Boris Johnson's a good friend of mine. I'm not going to get into the business of criticising him. He must justify why he thinks having, as you say, nearly 4 million people come to this country in a short period of time was the right thing to do for Britain. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I've never thought it was the right thing to do, and I haven't changed my mind. And I would remind Conservative members of Parliament that all of us, when I was a Conservative, stood for an election repeatedly on manifestos that said we would bring immigration down to the tens of thousands. What we have seen since 2010 is in fact over 10 million people coming to our country, changing our society. It's not the right thing for Britain. Enough is enough. We have to act now to stop this.
OK, can we just move on to the Reform Conference? I know we're in Liverpool now, but you did have somebody at your conference. You gave a platform to Aseem Malhotra, who some consider to be a conspiracy theorist. He went on stage and suggested that the COVID vaccines might have caused both the King and the Princess of Wales to develop cancer. Do you agree with him? Should he have been given a platform to say that at your conference?
I absolutely disagree. I frankly think that is complete and utter nonsense, and it is certainly not Reform policy. Look, the thing about the Reform Conference, unlike the Labour conference that you're at the moment and the Conservative conference that's happening next week, we welcome debate. We're a party that is in touch with our membership. In fact, only this week we surpassed 250,000 members in the Reform Party, and why people are joining us in their droves is we welcome debate. We listen to the British people. We reflect their values. So, you know, while that guy was wrong, he has no role in Reform. He doesn't speak for the party. We shouldn't run away from these debates.
But there's a difference between debate, isn't there, and actual misinformation. Let's get on to what both the leader of the party and indeed the deputy, Richard Tice, have said in reaction to Donald Trump linking Tylenol, which is paracetamol, to autism. Now, they seem to be saying the science is never settled. We've had people from the NHS in this country, we've had doctors saying it's perfectly safe to take paracetamol in pregnancy. What does he mean science is never settled? Is science not settled around the theory of gravity? Is science not settled around the theory of plate tectonics? Science is settled in a number of areas, isn't it, Sir Jake Berry?
Camilla, I'm glad you've asked me about this, because I think, as you know, I have an autistic son, and I think this is a really important debate. So therefore, for your viewers at home, I want to read out what Nigel Farage actually said. He said, individual countries should have their own debates and make their own health decisions. So I wouldn't follow what Mr. Kennedy department does. I'd listen to what they have to say, but I wouldn't follow it. having our own independent healthcare policy, making our own decisions is clearly the right thing to do. So let me start by saying I think Nigel Farage has been completely misrepresented in relation to those comments. He was absolutely clear that we should follow what our own health department does. And I think the real debate, and what I hope that we can move to, away from discussing what's happening thousands of miles away on the other side of the Atlantic, when we have a record number of young people diagnosed with autism, when you have parents like me and my wife battling every day to get our son the care that he needs, let's have a proper debate in this country about how we support those tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands even of parents who'll be watching this show today saying, my child is really struggling to access education. I can't get them the support they need. Let's talk about how we support those parents, not what Mr. Trump and his team may be doing 1,000 miles away. I think that's the wrong thing to focus on.
All right, but just to add another quote, you've quoted some of what Nigel Farage said. He also said, he told LBC this, he had no idea if the US president was right in his claim, adding, and I quote, "We were told that thalidomide was a very safe drug and it wasn't." So that seems to lean into the idea that there's something unsafe about taking paracetamol in pregnancy, when actually a Swedish study has suggested the complete opposite. And it questioned 2.4 million children and parents on it.
Well, Camilla, I mean, Nigel Farage may be many things, people's opinion may be divided. He's not a health expert. And that's what he's saying there, isn't there? That in his quote, he said, we must follow the science. And just on his comments about thalidomide, I had loads of constituents when I was a Member of Parliament who had had their lives appallingly affected by that terrible drug that was prescribed to women while pregnant to help them with morning sickness that led to the most appalling disabilities. So, look, you know, that is history. We are clear that we must follow the science on paracetamol in this country, that it's safe for women to take during pregnancy.
When you were a Tory MP, did you ever have any constituents report that migrants had been eating swans or carp?
No, I didn't have any constituents report that migrants had been eating swans. I'll be completely honest with you. I actually did have a local angling club approach me to talk about poaching, in this case by Eastern Europeans, and I worked with the police locally on our reservoirs to ensure that people weren't illegally catching carp and eating them. The wider point on this, and the point that Nigel is making, ignoring the fact that both Sky, The Guardian, BBC have reported this sort of thing happening, is that we have tens of thousands of undocumented migrants in this country who are not assimilating into British society. That's what people are worried about, and things on the internet about carp or swans are just a demonstration of the fact how the previous government and this government has completely lost control of our borders, are bringing undocumented migrants into the heart of our community in migrant hotels, and people are genuinely concerned about that because these people are not assimilating into British society, and it's only by supporting reform, by voting reform, by joining the party that you have a political party that has the guts to actually stand up and do something about this.
Final quick question, Sir Jake. I'm going to be speaking to Patrick English from YouGov in just a moment about that MRP polling. Look, it puts it puts reform well ahead, but still not enough to form a majority. So some deal with the Tories is almost inevitable, isn't it?
Well, there's a couple of polls out today, isn't there? There's a big one which shows Reform forming a majority, but as you know, polls are a snapshot of public opinion. There is a long way to go until the next general election. What we in Reform are concentrating on is the hugely important elections. Nigel Farage has said his top priority is Wales for next year. We have important elections in Scotland, over 1,000 seats in London, multiple mayoralties up. Reform will be working every single day to take those staggering poll leads. I think 18 months ago people would have thought, you know, this was just beyond belief. Those staggering poll leads, we are working every day to turn poll leads into votes, because what people want in this country isn't reform ahead in the opinion polls, is reform councillors, reform mayors, reform members of the Senate, reform members of the Scottish Parliament, representing them, delivering value for taxpayers and ensuring that we focus on the issues that matter to the British people.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Ex-Hurricane Gabriel continues to bring some wet and windy conditions across parts of Iberia over the next couple of days, particularly across southern parts of Spain and Portugal through Monday afternoon. There'll continue to be some strong winds and outbreaks of heavy rain. A little drier across parts of France and Italy, but the Balkans continue to see some outbreaks of quite heavy rain as we go through Monday afternoon. It'll then turn a little bit drier towards the middle part of the week, and temperatures for most reaching the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Liverpool Party Conference for Labour. Here I am joined by the Labour MP for Kettering, Rosie Wrighting, and GB News' political editor, Chris Hope. Chopper, lovely to see you both. You're in, just so the viewers and the listeners know, you're in Kettering, you won it last time, you nicked it off the Tories, you've got about a 4,000 majority there. Chopper, you need no introduction whatsoever. Rosie, coming into this conference, it's difficult, isn't it, as a new MP? You probably got elected thinking, yay, Labour! And it's not been an easy 14 months for Keir Starmer. His popularity's tanking. Everyone's talking about reform. How do you steal back the narrative for this conference?
I think it's important to acknowledge that I understand how eager people are across the country and in my constituency to feel change. I mean, we got elected on a mandate of change, and rightly so. They expect to feel that in their day-to-day lives. But the progress that we've already made on things like breakfast clubs, free trade deals that bring jobs to my constituents, increasing the national minimum wage, putting more money back in people's pockets, is making a difference to working people. But rightly so, I understand the need to go faster so that people in my constituency can feel their lives getting better and feel as though this country is fairer and working for them.
Talking about working people, Rosie, we have heard the Prime Minister on the BBC this morning refuse three times to rule out a VAT increase. Now, many people watching and listening to this show will think to themselves, how on earth does increasing VAT help working people?
Well, we stood on a manifesto that said we weren't going to increase taxes on working people. On the BBC show this morning, the Prime Minister did say multiple times that the manifesto still stands, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm in the Treasury or know the conversations that are going on ahead of the budget. But I think it is right that this government has and should continue to protect working people when we're making financial decisions about our country.
So would you be minded to push back against that if it comes out in the budget that there is indeed a tax on working people in a VAT rise, which had been expressly ruled out multiple times during the election campaign and actually afterwards? Would you be one of those backbenchers who says actually no?
I want to see my constituents feel as though this country is fair and working for them, and I think if people are going to work and they're earning a good wage and they're paying their taxes, they deserve to see things like our public services working and this country working for them.
So this is the flip-flop and the U-turn to beat them all, isn't it?
Well, I think that's extraordinary. Labour don't really put up VAT. The Tories do that. It's seen to hit those on lower incomes much harder than those on higher incomes. That's why Labour do try and bring down VAT whenever they can. Cost of living is polling very, very high as a concern. To lift VAT to deal with concerns with a £30 billion black hole in the autumn budget will be a real backward step. I was surprised that the PM couldn't say explicitly we're not going to put up VAT in the budget earlier today. He said instead that the manifesto still stands, and that's a worry. Elsewhere today, I think Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, she's making interesting remarks now about indefinite leave to remain. Migrants who want to be here for a long time for their lives must do voluntary work. That's interesting. That's in the Sun on Sunday. That is, I think people I've got a lot of people buying shares heavily in the new Home Secretary to get to grips with small boats and being tough on the issue of migration.
And yet the Prime Minister's rhetoric this morning is that it's a racist policy.
That was attacking Reform's policy to deport people here. It really means anyone backing that party is racist, and that's very dangerous.
And I don't think that's true at all. In my constituency, when I speak to people who have voted Reform, maybe voted Reform in the local elections.
Are they racist?
No, I don't think they are, and I don't think to have concerns about immigration is racist at all, and we shouldn't be calling out as racist. But I do think.
So why call it racist? Why call a policy racist when you want to remove migrants? Why say that word?
Because I do have lots of conversations with people where they are concerned about immigration, but they also acknowledge that legal immigration, when done right, is a good thing.
If it is right, as Nigel Farage announced in that bombshell press conference last week, that over half of those who are on indefinite leave to remain are also claiming welfare benefits and access to the NHS, that they're actually a drain on the British economy. Well, they're not a net positive, they're a net negative.
Well, that's almost a separate issue in terms of the increase of people claiming benefits, and that is something that we need to crack down on. We need to get people into work. We need to make sure that they're contributing to our economy as well. But that doesn't take away from the fact that immigration does benefit our country in so many ways.
And why have you got some union flags with you there?
Well, I bought a present here for Rosie Wrighting, and that's for you, and that's for you. Now, because the PM also called, didn't he? These are good quality flags here.
They are good quality flags.
Take my eye out there, Rosie. The PM also talked about patriotic, progressive patriotism. Here's our giving flags out all week to anyone who wants one. Comes to GB News stand, give you a flag, wave it around. We love the flag at GB News, as Brits do.
GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will be some rain in the far northwest of Scotland on Monday, but for most, once any fog clears, Monday is promising to be a fairly fine day with some sunny spells, and that's courtesy of this area of high pressure extending from the southwest. But notice the isobars in the far northwest, those tighten together, so it will be turning windier and there will be some rain in the far northwest of Scotland. But back to Sunday evening, many areas are ending the day on a dry note, and skies will continue to clear as we go through this evening and overnight. So temperatures really falling away, and it is going to turn into a rather cold night, particularly in the countryside. So temperatures here into mid-single figures, if not low single figures. A touch of frost in many areas, perhaps even a touch of air frost across parts of Scotland. But there'll also be some fog patches, and for some of us those fog patches are going to be quite dense and quite stubborn to clear on Monday morning, most likely across eastern parts of England and across the southeast too. So do leave yourself some extra time for your morning commute if you do live in these regions. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine through the course of Monday. Even across eastern Scotland, a bright start to the day here. Any early morning fog very quickly clearing. Out towards the west though, here's that band of cloud and rain already arriving across the Western Isles of Scotland, and those winds will continue to strengthen through the course of the day on Monday as well. So turning rather windy in the far northwest of Scotland, gusts of up to 40 miles per hour or so. A bit of patchy rain across Northern Ireland first thing, but tending to brighten up here as well as we go through the course of the day. And a fine afternoon for many of us. A bit of patchy rain in parts of central Scotland, but England and Wales staying largely dry, with sunny spells and temperatures around average for the time of year, highs of 17 to 19 in the south. Tuesday may again see the odd fog patch or two first thing in the south and the east, but overall a fine day once again for most of England and Wales. Cloudy for Scotland and Northern Ireland, patchy outbreaks of rain gradually pushing their way west to east and turning quite breezy at times once again. The outlook is for it to stay mostly dry across England and Wales for the rest of this week, but some rain at times in the north and west and temperatures close to average.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Good evening, this is Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight.
You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
We debate, is digital ID an infringement on our freedoms? And